People sometimes, including my daughter, who's here today with one of her friends representing the University of New Mexico, said, "Dad, can you be nice today?" And I said, it's not that I try to be angry, but one of my favorite Christians, and I have a long list of them, is St. Thomas Aquinas, who was apparently a very spirited fellow, and he was often asked, how come you're so angry? And he said, look, anger looks to the good that exists inside of justice. And if you can be non-angry and live amidst injustice, then you are both unjust and immoral. And I think I'm a nice guy most of the time. But as I said before, you never get anybody to change their mind because they suddenly see the light. They have to feel the heat. So we have to bring the heat. We bring it quickly, we bring it in court, and we bring it in the media. But we're all brother and sister Academy graduates, those of you who haven't graduated yet, and this means something. You are, in my opinion, the best and the brightest, and the opinion of many other people around the world. That's why it matters here. If stuff happens at, no offense, at State University somewhere, they don't care that much. But when it happens at the United States Air Force Academy, ask your parents. I used to love when people say to me, hey, where are Casey and Curtis, where are they going? I say, oh, nowhere, just the United States Air Force Academy. And it blows people away. It's a special place. You're going through a special time. About 70 yards from here is where I proposed to my wife after a concert here when I was a third classman. She was pregnant with twins at the time. Just kidding, just kidding. It is a very, very special place. And there's a special responsibility for people that have gone through the crucible of getting accepted here. As we all know, getting accepted is hard enough, but staying here is almost impossibly difficult. I was asked by the media before I did this speech today, and they're here now, the media, that, well, what do you think about the Academy? I've never felt better about it than I have in the last 6 years. You have the right leader here who has to speak truth to power, who has to face down people in the community, in the graduate community, the local community, the national, international community, donors with checks, and I know that's hard to do. But he doesn't care because of his devotion to the core values. Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do, right? And you have to understand that if you're a subordinate, if you're an underclassman, or you're a subordinate by one stripe or one rank, because most of our clients are E1 to E5, O1 to O4, although we have them at all ranks. When you tell somebody that they lack integrity and character and honor and honorability and bravery and courage and intelligence and trustworthiness and responsibility because of their chosen religious faith or lack thereof, there's no difference between that and telling someone that you are stupid because of the color of your skin. And you gotta understand that. We are not about a Christian-Jewish issue or Jewish-Islamic issue or Christian versus Islamic issue. I'm a registered Republican. This is not a political spectrum left or right issue. It's a constitutional right and wrong issue. I am not the enemy. And if you're told that in Spire or on Wednesday nights or Sunday nights, I can't stop when they put my picture up on a Jumbotron at a large church, what they've done for a long time, and underneath it they put the name that they paid their public affairs people to come up with me, which is Field General of the Godless Armies of Satan. Satan's lawyer, and those are the nice ones, the most dangerous man in America. It's amazing because when I go into McDonald's to buy a number 5, they charge me the same amount they would charge you, even though I tell them I'm the Field General of the Godless Armies of Satan. And this is not worth anything, I can assure you. So what I would say is, please, and we talked about what can happen when you believe in absurdity, like no separation of church and state. If somebody can make you believe that, as Voltaire said, they can make you believe or commit an atrocity. There's a man I once met whose name is Walter. Walter is an unusual man. He was 80 years old, and he saw what happened when a world collapsed because of people believing absurdities. He grew up in a little village called Lotz, which was turned into a ghetto. And when the Third Reich decided that they wanted to empty the ghetto out, they moved him to another place, called Auschwitz. And somehow he survived there, and they moved him to another place called Dachau. And he is actually one of your neighbors. He lives in Denver. I don't know if he's here today, Walter Plawowski, who's a big supporter of ours. Walter, would you stand up, please? Can we give him a hand, everybody? Thank you, brother. Thank you. Walter reached out to us a number of years ago, and I remember because a lot of elderly Jewish people have reached out to me, including the matriarch of our family, who until 2006 lived about 200 yards from me in Albuquerque. She was a very, very tough woman. She's a Holocaust survivor. She did not go through the same concentration camp experience that Walter did. And just to let you know, I don't think there cannot be more than, you can't count on one hand the people that have survived a ghetto experience, both Auschwitz and Dachau, as Walter have. But my great aunt Herta was a tough woman. After the war, her camp was liberated by the Russians. And she spent 5 years under Russian tyranny before she escaped and moved to San Francisco. She then came to live in Albuquerque, and she was a very proud woman and about 5 feet tall and scared the hell out of everybody, including lots of cadets that used to come down all the time. And she got very ill towards the end of her life, and she got upset with us when we took her car keys away when she hit 89. Walter, will never take your car keys away, but she just couldn't drive anymore, you know, and we made sure she could always go wherever she needed to go. We drove her, we'd have a driver for her, whatever, but she was furious about the fact that she had her car keys taken away. Well, she was mad at the family and she let all of us know about it for about 2.5, 3 years. Then she got very, very ill, and I mean really ill. And we knew that the end was there, and I was kind of asked by the family in the summer of 2006 to go approach her and to make peace with regard to the car situation. Now, she never commented on what our family had done. You know, my book had come out in was about to come out in 2006. We were shooting a movie. We have some more book and movie deals that are coming through, but she was aware of all that. She never commented. She never spoke about the Holocaust except to Steven Spielberg. She gave him 4 hours of testimony after the Schindler's List thing, which we watched, you know, crying a bucket of tears. So I walked into her room knowing that she was very, very near death, and in fact, she died 72 hours later. She was sitting there, and I think she knew what I was there for, and I sat down and I said, Aunt Herta, and I was about to ask for her forgiveness for taking her car keys away, and then she stopped me. And she said, for the first time, she commented on our foundation and the fight that we were in. And she said, I can't affect her very pronounced Berlin accent, which she was very proud of. But she said, don't ever stop what you're doing, because I remember what happened when the first pronouncements came down from the Third Reich that Jews could not they had to have the same alphanumerics on their license plates for their cars. And no one did anything. They didn't stand up. And then a few weeks later, Jews could not congregate in groups of more than 100. No one did anything. And Walter, I apologize for the memories. This must be dredging up. The number dropped to 50. No Jews cannot be in groups of larger than 50. No one did anything. Finally, it dropped down to no Jews could be anywhere at any time, and no one had done anything. And she pointed this bony finger at me, and she had these piercing blue eyes, and she said, don't ever stop what you're doing. And I swore to her that I wouldn't, even though this isn't a Jewish-Christian fight, as I said. At that point, I was amazed that she even talked about this. I said, Aunt Herta, you know, we did take your car keys away, and I could see that at that her eyes narrowed and she was more angry, and I got more scared. And she said, I wanted to ask for forgiveness because, you know, we always took you everywhere. You went to all the boys' games, we went to all the events, and you know, I didn't understand why you were so angry that we took your car keys away. Do you know what she said to me? And she was shaking with anger. So I knew I was about to get blasted. I felt like I was a 4th degree again, you know, not knowing my knowledge. And I said, well, why were you so angry about this? Because she hadn't answered the forgiveness part. She said, because when you're a Jew, you always have to be ready to get away. She wanted the car keys for her Buick, and she was 91 years old and 72 hours away from death. No, you don't forget something like that. I'm reminded every hour of every day that I'm a Jew. I'm not even that religious. If my last name was O'Reilly, we have our bodyguards here, one of their last names is McGinley. If it was one of those names, we wouldn't take 80% of what we have to go through. And what I'm going through is 1/10 of 1/100th of what Walter Pliwowski must have gone through. I can't even imagine what he went through, or what my great aunt went through. But service before self and integrity matters, and you can't just do it a little bit. It's like a karate master who brings his hand down or her hand down on 6 bricks. You're not coming down 90%. You're coming down 110%.